I think there's some nice news as of right now when it comes to Say, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Not too long ago, Say themselves on X did post that Say is number one gaming chain on DApp Radar. Now, let's take a look at what DApp Radar actually kind of said about this. It said, as June comes to a close, let's take a look at the top gaming chains from the past 30 days. And again, Say took the lead with 8.8 million wallets, up 74% as gaming on Say heats up with several emerging titles boosting activity, and then just a bunch of random stuff I don't really care about. But even besides that point, the basic gist of it is that when it comes to Say, allegedly again, at least when it comes to this, is the number one gaming chain on DApp Radar, and at least, again, this is as June comes to a close. Why do I think this is a big deal? It's because when I think about gaming, I don't think about Say. You know what I mean? I think about Say as allegedly being the world's fastest parallel blockchain. That's pretty much it, kind of in the grand scheme of things, right? But then people don't really think about gaming. Neither do I. But then seeing stuff like this, I think kind of showcases the diversity of Say. I think it kind of showcases that, you know what? Why not gaming for Say? Because let's take a look at blockchain gaming. For instance, the blockchain gaming market is expected to be worth over $300 billion by 2030, according to Grand View Research. That's very massive. Now, after all, that's just a projection. Who knows if we'll ever reach that? But let's say it does. That's bigger than some countries' GDP. I think that's a big deal right there when it comes to blockchain gaming. Allegedly, maybe. However, only time will tell. But I do like blockchain gaming, generally speaking, because I do like those type of blockchain gaming projects. But granted, many of them are not that good, in my opinion. And a lot of the games out there when it comes to blockchain gaming, graphics are not that fun. Tokenomics usually, I feel like, are really bad. And also on top of that, just the gameplay overall, the graphics and whatnot, it's just not something I would really want to kind of even spend my time on, at least when it comes to a lot of blockchain games out there. So I like Say because I like this new direction, and if anything, seeing this activity when it comes to Say, I think it's good because even though blockchain gaming really hasn't kind of taken off yet, maybe moving forward, once it really does, could Say hypothetically be somewhat of a destination for these type of blockchain gaming projects. Who knows? This is just what I like. And some people out there like to say, oh, if blockchain gaming isn't quote unquote, that good yet, why do you believe in it? It's because I want to believe in market sectors that haven't really taken off yet, because I like the concept when it comes to blockchain gaming. It just hasn't been that good, generally speaking, yet, at least in my perspective. So I still want to believe in it. Now, let's not forget, though, not to mention as well, again, not too long ago, Say mentioned on their account on X how TVL stands for Total Value Locked, on Say has surpassed $600 million. That is very impressive. When we take a look at Say, right, take a look at its Total Value Locked. Take a look at when it comes to gaming. Overall, I do really like this because let's not forget, the transaction finality time of Bitcoin is around an hour, allegedly. Solana around 2.5 seconds, which is very good. But then take a look at Say. Allegedly, transaction finality time is around 380 milliseconds. That's literally less than half a second. That's kind of insane to think about. However, even besides all that, when it comes to Say, let's say going to the price of $10, at that point, it's around 34x from here, and considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $55.5 billion. Come on, we've seen Dogecoin reach over 80 billion, and that was years ago back in 2021. We're talking about Say here. Fundamentally, we have to take a look at how I don't think Say actually loses out to something like Solana. It's just Solana's more popular. This is just kind of my perspective when I take a look at it in the grand scheme of things. It's just adoption when it comes to Say hasn't necessarily been the best. And the popularity, of course, hasn't been as much as Solana. But then Say kind of reminds me of like Solana back then a little bit, where it was already kind of massive, but then it never really achieved that type of mainstream status yet. Now it has. So could Say kind of be like that? Hopefully one day. Who knows? But it wouldn't surprise me because it really is something that kind of reminds me of Solana back then. So I'm still going to stay patient. And quite frankly, that is the only thing I can control because sure, I can take a look back in history and see how usually altcoins, typically as a worst case scenario, again, they usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so we had 18 months on top of that. It's around October this year. Sure, I can take a look at that, but then that's based off history. No matter when it happens, I'm still going to stay patient because I'm going to be holding, just waiting. That's it. Quite frankly, if someone said, hey, would you rather choose Bitcoin or Say? I'm choosing Say because Again, $10 is around a 34x from here. Even at the price of $5, that's like, slightly over a 15x from here. Bitcoin, let's say, goes to 300 grand, that's slightly less than a 3x from here. So what would I rather choose? It's only logical, I think, that for me to assume that kind of me being in Bitcoin a long time ago, I don't mind, but as of right now, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to choose Say, but that's just my perspective. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.